Hey everyone, welcome back to a writer's Vlog. Sorry it's been a while since another video. I'm really bad at punctuality, so please forgive me. Anyway, this video I want to talk about research. Research specifically dealing with writing about your book. Now, some of you would be like, well, why do I need research? I'm writing a modern fiction story, or I'm writing a fantasy novel. Why exactly do I need to do any research at all? Well, to tell you the truth, you need to do research, for instance, for things like when it comes to modern fiction. If you're going to take any stories that come out of, say, another country or another place, another people, another culture, you need to do research there. So it's very important when it comes to the modern fiction aspect to do your research when you're dealing with other places and other people. For instance, my story deals with a centralized part of it, at least in Japan. So I had to take a lot of time and actually read up and look up, trying to figure out, exactly the people, the culture, the places, and everything else. What you'll find is a lot of the times your ideas about what you want to write about will be different. My ideas change too. When I was writing my story, I wanted to include some of the festivals in that, some of the festivals in Japan. But as I did more and more research, I quickly was a little bit bombarded by the fact that depending upon the region and the people in that, could determine how they celebrated each celebration, or even the days they celebrated each celebration. And then I had other conflicts that came into play too. And so after a while of doing some research, I actually pushed myself away from dealing with the festivals and that, considering the fact that I might actually come back to that later. But yeah, that's a huge thing. You want to be respectful of who you're writing about and try to be as truthful as you can. There's going to be a lot of things that you don't know, or a lot of practices and traditions that you never thought about when you were doing research for your book. Last thing you want to do is, talk about a certain people, places, or things that involve that culture and misrepresent that. It will really turn off if that audience, or if you're even aiming for that audience, it'll really turn them off. Like, they'll read it, they'll pick it up, and they'll go, "Wow, this is a bunch of junk. This doesn't represent me whatsoever." So you have to be very careful. So I also mentioned about research for fantasy novels. Now, why do I say there's research for fantasy or even sci-fi? Let's go with sci-fi as well. Part of the reason you want to kind of do some research in sci-fi and fantasy is more on the aspect of how to write those, how to craft your world, how to design it, how to basically fit things together. Now, if you know anything, or if you've done a little bit of writing in the fantasy world, you'll quickly find out that a lot of the times, like authors like Robert Jordan, for instance, he actually took a lot of his ideas for his story and for the people involved in the story. He took that out of real life, out of different cultures, out of different religious beliefs, things like that. So he integrated that, but put his own twist on things. It's very important when you're writing, if you're writing a sci-fi or fantasy novel, you want to kind of connect it to the real world, so the people won't open it up and read it and go, "Wow, this is weird." They're not to say those books don't work. You got Alice in Wonderland, which is an incredible book, but it's full of imagery in that, and it's very fantastical in that. So not to say those books don't work, but they're a lot harder to do. For instance, another thing you could do is research for like your sci-fi. If you want to do sci-fi stories, it's probably a good idea to kind of take some things from the real world, like scientific things, whether you're doing space travel or whatever, is actually research and know the universe. Actually take some of the research that scientists have found and integrate it into your book. It'll make it a little bit more believable. Your characters, your people will be able to connect with it, and so will your characters, and it'll draw your audience in. So the only series I haven't really touched on when it comes to research is actually historical fiction or period pieces. Now, historical fiction and period pieces can be very daunting. I don't know, as a first-time writer, unless you really love that research and you're really intent on doing it, I'd say that's a lot harder to pull off. I was looking at one point doing kind of a period piece historical fiction and quickly found out how frustrating it could be to get all the info and read up on the period, the people, the culture, and everything else. So when it comes to historical fiction or period pieces, those are probably the hardest and the ones that are most grueling for research. But I can't tell you enough as a writer how important research, not just research for your own self-publishing, but also research for doing your book, how important it is. You want to be truthful, and you want to show people and the cultures in not always a positive light, but at least in a truthful light. You want to also, when you're doing things like fantasy and that, like I've said, you want to have some of your stuff that connects with the real world, or sci-fi. You want some things where people can read up and it kind of, not only does it intrigue them and make them go, hey, I want to kind of look into this a little bit more. You want to draw them in and make the connection so that they don't read it and, like I said before, go, oh wow, this is insane. And then with historical and period pieces, those are the most grueling when it comes to having to do your research. One of the authors I like reading from is like Tessa Afshar and that, and one of the coolest things she does is at the end of her books is she actually goes through the research that she's done and what was happening during that time period and why she chose that period, and also gives you some background on what was going on and some of the connections she made with historical either incidences or historical situations that were going on at the time, or even historical people. So that's really cool too. But again, that's one of the more harder genres to do when it comes to research. You really, really, really need to know your stuff. So for all of you out there in that, research, whether it's self-publishing or for your own book, is very important in that. And I just wanted to touch on that today. So, well, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I will see you soon, hopefully. I'll try to be a little bit more punctual, try to get more videos out there. If you like this video and you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe down below and press like. And if you want, go check out my website. I've got a book coming out soon, hopefully in the next month and a half. Takara's Legacy. The first book is called Angela's Hope. It's going to be out here in the next month to month and a half. Maybe 2 months, don't quote me on that. It all depends upon how long it takes to get through. So, but as a first-time writer, just please check me out. Check out what you like about this video and that, and sign on. So I hope you guys all have fun writing in the writer's world. Bye.